G'day and welcome to another episode. My name is Daethstro, the Aussie Geek, and today we will be looking at the War for Cybertron Siege Refraktor, aka Reflector, aka the individual names that I can never remember. I know there was Viewfinder, and that's about as much as I can always remember, just Viewfinder, Spectro, and somebody put in the comments what the last one's name is, because I'm drawing a blank. So I will say, for starters, that as far as I'm aware, and do not hold me to this, someone put in the comments if I am absolutely 100% wrong. But as far as I know, this is the only, just double checking there, the only character in the Siege toy line that doesn't have the scuff marks. And if you don't know what those are, have a look at some of my previous reviews. And you'll see that the paint's chipped here and there. It looks like it's been scratched and whatnot. So it looks like it's war-torn. As far as I know, Reflector, and I will keep calling him Reflector because Refraktor sounds stupid, is the only one who doesn't actually have the scratch marks. And I will also say that while you are perfectly capable and able to own one of these, if you can get your hands either on this one or the select release, get 3. I don't know how much they go for nowadays, but if you're going to get these guys, you need to get 3. And if you don't know why, I will get to that soon. So here is Reflector, and excuse the band-aid, I cut myself and it's still taking forever to heal. He looks alright. He's very, I don't want to say generic because he does look nice. I do like his colours and whatnot. And he does have accessories. He's got himself a nice gun here and a shield here and this belly button thing, which I'll get to in a minute. But if I get rid of all these accessories, and we can have a closer look. He does have quite a few effect spots. So we have this one here, and we have this one here, this one here. Sure, we had a few more, but you've got 5mm ports everywhere. Here, there. I suppose that'd be 5mm, maybe. Probably not. It doesn't really help because that doesn't fit anyway. You do have these two under here. I suppose you could use here. I'm not sure about these two. They're probably too small. He does have a lot of gaps here, and here, but we'll get to these two specifically in a moment. Plus, those hands need to go somewhere. So it does look pretty good, especially with all this detail here. The head's nicely painted and whatnot, and all plastic. And he is pretty well articulated. Honestly, he's got a lot of articulation for such a figure as he is. So, yeah, he's not too bad. So, we'll do our first size comparison. We'll bring on good old MP10. So, there he is with Masterpiece Optimus. So, he's about just under his hip. So, roughly around. So, there we go. So, let's get this. Actually, let's do articulation. Then we'll worry about transformation. So, the head can do a full 360. If you use the transformation joint, it can look way up. It can look a little bit down, which is the only problem with this. He tends to, because of the way the head is, there's no ball joint. I'm pretty sure that's just a mushroom peg. Or, yeah, I think it's a mushroom peg. He can't really lift his head without lifting the transformation joint. So it would have been nice if there was a ball joint in there, but that's not going to happen. Can't go side to side. Arms can do a full 360. They can go out, but it doesn't go... Oh, no, it doesn't go with this joint. It goes in here. So technically his shoulder doesn't move. His bicep moves. So, which looks a little weird because it feels like all that should go with it. But, yeah, I'm not going to complain. He has bicep rotation there. He has a double jointed elbow that gets you that far. So all the way up, but it sort of, hinges there. No wrist rotation, no fingers. You can pull it back, but that's more for transformation. Does have a waist swivel, has no ab crunch. Legs go out that far, come forward this far, go back that far. Knees go that far. He does have ankle tilt a lot of angle tilt. You can do a toe bend if that's what you want. It is more for transformation, but you can use it how you wish. So there we go. So let's get this guy down to transformation, and it's relatively simple. Turn his head around and fold his head back, which reveals this port, which we'll need in a minute. We are going to twist his waist around so his legs are facing backwards. We're going to fold in his hands. And what we're going to do is we're going to get, where is it? So these tabs here, you can see them. So this one and this one. We're going to fold them in like so, because these tabs are going to go into here. So when we bring these in like so, it sort of thumps into place. But at the same time, you then tab those forearms in. So rough around, bring that in. They do have a tendency to pop out, so just be aware of that, but it is what it is. Then we're going to do these legs. You're going to flip these pieces out all the way. Same here. And then you're going to rotate it at the thigh swivel, which I don't even think I showed, so it did have a thigh swivel. Fold those both in. Now this can be a little fiddly because the hips want to keep moving, but you can get there. You want to tab these together like so. So these sort of sit together like this. You're then going to take your gun and you're going to want this piece facing up. This piece is going to plug into here, not here. If you plug in here, it's too close. So you plug that in there, flip this around and bring this in, and that should tab in there. It can be a very tight tab, so be aware when you're trying to get it back out again. To get all this coherent, you're going to fold down the chest piece, and then you're going to fold this out, and that's going, these two tabs are going to go into the here. If I can line them up properly. So there, it's either here, yeah, I'm sure it's these two. Come on. Or is it? No, it's got to be those ones. Otherwise it's too far. There we go, that got it. It's just a matter of lining it up for the most part. So we're almost done. We're going to take the spinny wheel, and that's going to go where his head was. And then we're going to take his shield, and this is going to plug into here. Oh, into here, I should say. Like so. And there we have Reflector, Refraktor with untabbing arms in his ship mode. So going by this, now admittedly that's probably supposed to be landing gear, but at the same time it doesn't fold back up. So you could probably transform it, spread this, fold these back up. But honestly, that seems more of a snow skier. Like it skis along the snow, like the thruster shoots. And this is sort of what keeps it on the snow along with these. So honestly, even though I think this is supposed to be some sort of Decepticon scout ship maybe, which makes sense for Reflector, I get more of the feeling he's a ice scout. So something that like the Empire, for example, would send on Hoth to go and look around before they send troops down. So that makes more sense to me. Yeah. It is what it is. But at the same time, this is a mode that was specifically designed for Siege. So there we are. So we can bring in one of our final size comparisons. Because here he is with Windblade. And I'll tilt the camera up a little bit. So obviously she's wider. He is way longer because of that gun. He's shorter wise without it, but that is part of the transformation. Height-wise, she's a smidgen tall only because of the knife, only because of the sword. So there we go. Oh, I'll show this when we get back, but the shield can be held differently too. So let's get this guy transformed back again. So we're going to untab the shield. We're going to untab the twirly and get this guy back. So it's going to fold up, fold in the other way and tab in. Now, the easiest way to get these untabbed is just separate these. Just wiggle it. Because if you try to get these, it's not going to work too well because it's really tight. So put the gun over the side, flip up his feet again, come back here and flip these in. And then we're going to untab if they haven't already and bring the arms around. We can then spin the waist. So this is pointing this way. And we're going to spin the legs in this way. If you're not sure if you've got it around the right way, look at that ankle tilt. If it's tilting the other way out, you've got either the leg backwards or you've got the hips backwards. Like so. And then we can spin those biceps. And bring out those hands, which can be a little difficult, but they do come out eventually. And then you can just flip up his head and rotate. Now, as for his shield, it does have this port here, so you can actually have him holding his hand like so. But I just like it on the forearm itself. Now, for those of you who are in the know, and by now you should be in the know, this guy in G1 transformed into a camera. Shock, I know. And this is why I say you need to get 3 of this guy. Because while it is not in the instructions, it does have a 3rd mode. And I have got 2 more because of how he's displayed on my shelf. So we'll get this guy transformed for his 3rd mode. Like I said, there is no instructions for this. It would be online now, but when you get this figure, it doesn't come with these instructions. Now, there is interpretations of how this works. There is no, as far as I'm aware, no one has said this is exactly how it transforms. So take it for what it's worth, and I'm pretty sure there was probably an upgrade kit that added more, and I know that they made a select version of this with them in their toy colors that has even more components, but we're just doing with what comes in the box. So you're going to flip his head around, fold that back, and I'm literally looking at my other figures because I'm trying to remember. I just recently just transformed this guy back again. So we're going to fold the hands in like so. We're going to fold up the biceps like so. They won't really tab in, they just sort of sit there. So we're using that bicep joint. When this folds around, we're also going to fold these outwards. So this is going to fold in like this. Right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to fold these out. And we're also going to spin the waist and then spin the legs again. So this is going to come round like so. And then we're going to spin the thigh there. Now, this is the big step. And this can be difficult to get back out and sometimes get in, but it is doable. So this is going to tab into here. Right, like so. And what you're going to do is we're going to fold this out just to give us a bit more clearance. This is all going to fold up so it goes over the arms. It won't go 100%. Most of it will. So mostly these are going to sit into these gaps. So you're going to bend those hips. You're going to bend the legs, and you want it to fold up as far as it'll go. And if things go accordingly, you'll have him in a sort of a box. And then what you're going to do is you're going to flatten out these sides, these skis. Let's call them skis. And you have this. So, then we bring in his buddies. Right? Now, like I said, most of this is interpretation. This is just how I do it. What you want to do is have your center one, which is the one I used in this review, facing towards you. The other 2 you want facing away from you. So what's going to happen is this tab, this post is going to go in here. This post is going to go in here and vice versa. So I'm going to plug these together, and then I'm going to plug these together like so. Now I'll explain the details here and here in a minute, so we won't get to that quite yet. But what we're going to do is we're going to put him off to the side, and we're going to bring back the guns for the other two. Now, I admit there's one piece here I do not use, and I'll explain why in a second. But as you can see, it forms a little bit of a stand. And what the idea is, you have, where is it? You have this tab here, which hopefully you can see. I don't know why my lighting dimmed, but you have this tab here, and you have this empty port here. So when you put the guns together and you want them so that the shoulder guard is pointing up, this slides into here, and then the following one slides into there, like so. And that gives you a little stand. But we're not done yet. We're going to bring in his little spinneroonie. And you might see an interesting pattern there. We have 3 gaps here and 3 posts. If you line them up right, which can be somewhat difficult sometimes, just fiddling, line them up, you can tab all the shoulder guards together, and now you have one piece. So we're getting there. Then we're going to put that off to the side for a moment, and I'm going to bring in the shields for the other ones. Now, they don't like to stay together when there's only 2 of them, so just be aware of that. Sometimes they do. That one wanted to come undone. But there's our shield. Whoops. And I didn't show this, but there's a clear bit of plastic in there, right here. And basically what happens is, like the stand, you have this post here, and you have this little gap here. So that's going to go in, and the other one's going to go on, and you're going to sort of clip those together. And all of a sudden, we have a viewfinder, which is pretty neat. So we bring back the stand. We bring back Reflector and his mates, and we have these 3 posts. Now what you want to do is put the middle one on here, and it's up to you which way you want to point. I like just having the wider tripod. And then we take this, and they're not overly visible, but we have these ports here, and what's going to happen is 2 of these are going to plug into here. Now the 3rd one really doesn't plug in anywhere, so it is what it is. So those 2, yeah. So this one, although my plastic's, whoops, it's kind of shearing off there. But then that could have been originally there anyway. So that's going to plug in there, and that's going to plug in there, and voila. Reflector, Refraktor in his camera mode, squeak included, thanks to my table. And there you go. Like I said, there is no instructions with any of these figures, right? They come as singular individual figures. They have not got different names. They do not have different colors. They all come with the same components with the same color scheme. So if you buy one Refraktor, you have the same look as the other 2. But to get this mode or more, if you want to go nuts, you need 3 Refraktors at least. Now, explaining these 2. Now, for those of you who are in no means as old as I am, not that I'm saying I'm old, but for those of you who are the younger generation who use your phones as your camera, as I'm doing now, back in the day when we had cameras that required actual film to put in them, not those ones that are the big things and it slides out the front, they're even older. But what you would have is you would have your camera. Now obviously this tripod is way too small, but it's a display piece, so we can just take that off for the time being. So just looking at the camera, and what you would have is, going from this angle, you have basically you hit this to take the photo. So cheese, click, And even though usually it was a lot of the times a accessory, you'd have a flash. So this is what gave you red eye. Now, the same thing still happens on your phone, beg my pardon, when you take a photo and if you set it for the lighting so it flashes, so it brightens up the scene, you're doing the same thing, except this was sometimes part of the camera, but a lot of the time, also sometimes it wasn't, because you'd have to replace these when they blew out. And of course, after you take the photo, you would open the back of it. After you finish the reel, if you do it before then and you've only taken one photo, the rest of the reel's stuffed. Yes, no taking one photo and then taking it up to the pharmacy or wherever to get the photo developed because you wanted one photo. It would cost you too much money because you'd have to buy a whole new reel. And if that reel got access to sunlight or normal light, which if you see a lot of older films, they have a red room. Nothing to do with the adult stuff, but you have a special red room with a special globe that allowed you to view the film without destroying it basically. And that's what you do. So you'd have, say, 30 or 25 photos, and you'd go through them all. Once they were done, you'd literally have a little thing somewhere saying, this is how many you got left. You take that up, get developed. If you had the skills and the stuff, you'd do it yourself. But yeah, so this is a more traditional reflector look. Like I said, if you get the select version, it comes in the toy colors, but it has also the piece up here, an actual square flash that goes on here, and probably a normal button. But I didn't get that because I like Reflector in his G1 colors. So not only do I get to do a fun little review about a character you literally need to buy 3 of to get a legitimate use out of, but I even got to show off what was a bit of technology for when I was growing up. So yeah, no just taking one snapshot of your girlfriend or your boyfriend and then saying, here, I'll send it to you so you can see how good of a shot I was. It's, let me take a shot of you, give me about 3 weeks to use the rest of the photos, and I'll ask if they'll do a double print so I can give it to you. So, yeah. So then we can just plug that back on. And I will say, and it doesn't really need to be said, it is smaller. It is more for human hands. So if this was given, like, for example, to give to a masterpiece version of Skywalk, who did hold him, I think, in the first or second episode of G1, he's obviously too big. But as for final size comparison, because we'll do one of those, because why not? There he is again with MP10. He's basically coming up to his crutch. So it is a pretty decent size figure. If you haven't got this guy, I feel sorry for you. I'm sure you can find third-party figures. But if you can still find this guy on sale somewhere and then someone's got some leftover pieces, buy it. Get it. Find it somewhere, because it is an amazing addition to your collection until, like I said, you might be able to find it. Hasbro hasn't even done a masterpiece version of Reflector. I've seen a couple of third parties, but nothing I got because I was perfectly happy with this squeaky Siege figure. And of course, then you can still add all the guns and the 5mm ports and use all the effect parts so it looks like he's getting shot at while he's taking photos. That's up to you. You do you. But there we go. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give me a thumbs down. I promise you it will not hurt my feelings. Subscribe, ring that bell so you get plenty of notifications. And do not forget, I do not monetize any of this. I do not get paid for any of these reviews. Getting used to subscribe, possibly leave me a comment, is a nice bit of interaction and a nice bit of feedback I get from you guys. Because I'm not doing, as I have said in the past, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for the love of my figures and the fact that I want them to share them with you. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.